Hey everyone, Arsenal fan circle here. Wish I could deliver some good news, but it's not good. It's not pretty. And if you're following a club, I've been following a club for a long, long time now, for 30 years, and this is as bad as I've seen it personally. This is as bad as I've seen it. We're going to get into it, but Burnley winning first time at the Emirates for 50 years. It says it all right there. Um, Four home losses, first time since 1949. A couple of things there. So, listen, Matt here. Welcome. Gun the news. Thanks for joining.
You're welcome. Good to see the panel.
We're here for more.
That's fantastic, man.
We're here for more therapy, Gary. Thanks for joining, Gary.
Yes, this is 4 weeks in a row now. Arsenal Therapy Week has commenced.
Yeah.
Everybody get your couches all cleaned up, notebooks ready, pencils sharpened, pens ready to go. Make sure you go with the ink because it's another week on the couch.
Yep. And want to welcome a new person to the podcast. I've been checking out on Spotify. Check out the Republic of Arsenal on Spotify. Anthony, all the way from Ireland, Anthony, my home country. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. I wish I was making my debut under better circumstances, but this is about as good as it gets these days.
Well, just think about it as therapy. We're here to help all of the people who are tuning in. And I think, whatever it is about the feats, you seem to get a few more people coming in to these podcast live streams when you have a defeat. And man, this was a bad one today. But listen, we'll get into it in a minute, Anthony. I just wanted to, first things first, new people on the channel, we want to get your Arsenal story. So cheer some people up. Tell us about the halcyon days of Arsenal when you joined this crazy club.
It seems a long time ago now. Well, basically all started, my granddad and my dad, Arsenal fans. My dad was actually born in London, actually close to the Stamford Bridge, funny enough, but he chose Arsenal. And that's basically where I got it from. Nowadays, I'm starting to think maybe he didn't like me much as a kid. That's why he made me an Arsenal fan. I must have been a bit of a brat, but that could be my punishment. Yeah, but that's how I picked it up. So my dad and my granddad. So yeah, thanks very much, lads.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
From the age of what, 4 or 5, ever since you can remember.
I'd say, pretty much. Growing up, I probably shouldn't even be saying this, but growing up, I had a couple of uncles kind of fighting over me. Used to give me the old hand-me-down Man United shirts and that. But when I came of age and I saw a bit of sense, swapped over to the Gunners. But I might be going back the other way. No. It hasn't got that bad. No.
Well, Anthony, that's what it's all about, following a football team, right? You're in it for life. You're in it for the good and the bad, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Are you married, Anthony?
I'm not. No.
All right.
No woman wants to be seen with me while I wear this thing.
Just married to Arsenal at this point in time, right?
Yeah, very close to divorce, but yeah.
What was just linger on this a second? When was the first game you can remember?
The first game I can remember, I went to a Blackburn versus Arsenal game, Ewood Park. My dad used to work for a company called Graham and Brown. It was like a wallpaper company, and their directors had a box in Ewood Park. So again, him being an Arsenal fan, he was going over for work, and the lads had said to him, do you fancy coming along to a game? And it was unreal. Like I went over with him, and we got to go into the bar afterwards, and I met Tony Adams and a lot of the lads. So at that stage, I was quite young, and I didn't really know the players, but I was kind of going in, hey, this is great, Arsenal, Ian Wright and all this. If I could have that chance nowadays, I'd appreciate it a hell of a lot more. But no, it was pretty cool.
What was the result of the game?
We won
2-1.
I think it was 2-1. I think it was 2-1 we won.
Was it Wenger's first game?
Oh, this would have been, very, very early days. Very early days.
Was it a 2-0 win? Ian Wright getting both goals.
I think this would have. It might have even been before Wenger.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I'm
well.
not that young. I'm not that young. So
You look
I've
younger
seen,
than what you're telling us there.
I've seen a little bit of Bruce Rioch and George Graham. Believe me.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it. This has become the Arsenal Therapy podcast in the last few weeks. 4 weeks of it now. So I hope everyone is getting their fill of it.
Yep. Is everybody laying down? Let's get started. It started once again with the lineup. We weren't surprised by it at all. I guess the one surprise, or the three surprises, were the bench, right? We had 3 players on the bench, which definitely stood out. And only one of them got to play today, so that was a little disappointing. But seeing Ainsley, Willock, and Emil Smith-Rowe on the bench was definitely a plus sight. To see them get put on the bench for the work they've been doing. That was a plus side. But then I had to go back and look at the starting 11, and as somebody called it earlier, the 3 amigos were there. All right.
Yeah.
All 3 levels of our team. We've got one amigo in all 3 levels, right? And I'd say only 2 of them let us down today. One, William didn't play that bad. Could he have done better? Yes, but as a team, we were suffering as it was. So, but the 2 other amigos did not do us good today, especially the one in the middle. The one in the middle.
Yeah, we've got a whole section probably dedicated to that, right? Mahir, we talked about it earlier. Gary, myself, and you, we sort of pretty much talked about it exactly as the game panned out. When we saw the lineups, when you see the lineups with Arsenal these days, and you got Bellerin, Granit Xhaka, and Willian in there, it's strange to say, but we kind of know what's going to happen.
Anthony, we discussed this pre-game, right?
Yeah.
So we basically said if you see holding in the squad, Xhaka, the usual, Bellerin, Arteta's son at right back, Willian, the usuals, we already know what's going to happen. I'm absolutely fucking fuming. You expect a big change, I know a lot of the times the actual main, like the Arsenal AFTV and that, don't actually hear what needs to be said. Like, if you're expecting big change, bring on the Ainsley Maitland and then let them start. Because clearly, the Europa team, full of youngsters, there's some sort of passion. I know we're playing against, no disrespect, very low-level teams, but still, you can see the passion. You can see the almost a link in play with all our young players. They want it so badly, and then they perform well. And Arteta just goes with the same old shit week in, week out. I was shocked at people saying we're going to get 2 points from the next 2 games, and look what just happened.
Yeah. Anthony, let's have your initial thoughts on the game.
Yeah, well, look, it's like they say, it's the hope that kills us as Arsenal fans, and I don't know why it's the same lineup the whole time. Yeah, I'm always still a little bit surprised it's the same players. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But every time I see Xhaka's name, I'm kind of going, really? And then I go, did I expect it to be any different? But I'm hoping Arteta's sitting back and going, well, look, I picked them again. What did I expect? And if there's, I guess, maybe you could say 2 positives from today's game, Bellerin and Xhaka are suspended for the next game, so he has no choice but to change it. He has to play somebody else, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah.
But what message does it send to the young guys who play in the Europa League and perform? When it's supposed to be, your place is earned on merit. They've done absolutely nothing wrong. You can only beat the side that's in front of you, regardless of, whether they're seen as lesser opposition or not. You're still going out doing your job. You're getting the result. You can never fully see what level these guys are at if they don't get Premier League minutes. So it's it's almost pointless even playing them in the Europa League if you're going to say, well, look, it doesn't matter if you win or lose today. You're not playing at the weekend anyway. You know, Xhaka and Elneny, they're going to play anyway. So, you know, it just doesn't sound a good message.
Well, Gary, you shouldn't come to that. It shouldn't come to the point of Granit Xhaka is going to miss the next game. Hector Bellerin's picked up another yellow card, so he's suspended for another game. It shouldn't come to that. It should happen naturally. The manager should see it. There's some culpability with Arteta here. We know these players. We know their level, but he still keeps picking them.
Yes. I mean, I was as Anthony was talking, I was like looking in shock because yet again we are coming into another game where a streak is on the line. It's been unless this is what I just saw on Twitter is incorrect. It's been 33 years since Southampton has won won at Arsenal. Yeah.
Yeah, here we go again.
So this is our streak number 4 in my books as far as how many streaks are we going to break this year.
Yeah. I was talking to myself like a crazy person. We're breaking all kinds of records at Arsenal, Gary, but we're breaking all the wrong records.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I just looked at it and I went, another one? So like every game is going to be something new? I mean, come on. We got to break the streak. And like you were saying, we've got 2 forced changes already, so that can't be bad, right? We wanted 3-4 changes. We're getting 2 forced ones, so that's a plus. Yeah. But like you said, this is not Arteta's plan. Why he's not doing this on purpose? This isn't part of his plan to bring in those two new players next week, and he's going to have to do it now. And how do you got to have a team of more than 11, or 12, right? We've got about 12 players that are consistently playing. We should be a team of at least 18 to 20 players that we can lean on all the time. And he hasn't built that structure, which is kind of interesting because any team that he's been on, there's been more than 12 people that he could depend on as a coach. And he didn't. I thought he'd learned something from all the coaches he's been under or worked with, and he hasn't, because he hasn't figured out how to get that trust from all the players that he needs. Because he depended on 3 players today, and 2 of them basically let him down. They did the same thing over and over again, put themselves in situations that senior players at our team shouldn't. I mean, these are our leaders. These are our leaders, right?
Yeah.
And
PG Nez says perhaps Arteta has a project will eventually come good, but as I said before the game, what coach can survive results like these?
How are you going to survive with results like this? I have a feeling he's literally one loss away from getting sacked, and that's what everybody wants. Anthony, wouldn't you agree with me when I say that there's only a handful of players in the squad that actually might be playing playing with their heart on their sleeves?
Yeah.
The likes of I'm referring to the likes of Tierney, Partey's just come in, Gabriel, and I can't actually even think of many more than those 3.
I think the youngsters definitely play with some heart.
Oh, yeah,
I think all the youngsters. I think if all the youngsters were on the field today, and when Tierney got taken down, and then Xhaka was on the sidelines, and the players, being a donkey out there, there would have been 11 guys, or maybe 10, because Leno probably would have stayed back. But there would have been enough players out there to squash that nonsense, right? Because that's what we want to see. Aubameyang actually did come in. I would have liked him to come in on Tierney first, but that's all right. I'll take it. So he actually showed a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we're playing for the crust, right? I mean, that's nobody comes into your house and does this to you, and that's what they were doing. They came into our house, did not respect us, and we paid for it. I mean, we paid for it. We
our house, left the fat one somewhere in the lounge, and said thank you very much, and left the door wide open and our gate wide open, and the keys to our car sitting on top of the car in the front of the house. So yeah, then.
Yeah, Anthony, since we're going into a little bit of history here, I was actually at Arsene Wenger's last home game 2.5 years ago. We did, in fact, beat Burnley 5-0. And 2.5 years later, we're getting beaten by Burnley.
Yeah.
Where are we now in the last 5 years? What's going on? What's the direction of this team?
Yeah, those were the days. To be honest, it feels like this has been kind of spiraling out of control for more than 5 years, maybe 10 years. Like, I'm thinking going back even as far as kind of the last couple of years of Wenger.
Yeah.
You could see the direction it's been going, and there just hasn't been anybody that's been able to kind of put a stop to the rot at the club. I do feel for Arteta. He's inherited an almost impossible job. It's even Emery, when he took over the 22 years of Wenger. I don't feel like the club was left. It sort of like Ferguson left the job to David Moyes at United. It was an impossible task. There was so much rebuilding to do, and you can see, like, with the structure the club was left in, and we're in an absolute state right now. Like, the club has been run by you have a coach who's never, or a manager now who's never managed before. You have technical directors basically in their first job. Like, it's a complete shambles, let alone the performances on the pitch. There's just no direction in the boardroom. You have an owner that hasn't got a clue about soccer. Do you know what I mean? He's no interest. There's no passion. There's no leadership. No guidance. I literally think the performances on the pitch are only the start. Like, the club it's been run like you would expect a club who's probably 2 or 3 divisions below what it's actually in. Like, it's an absolute joke at the moment. It really is. I honestly don't know where we go from here.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy question to throw out on your debut. Gary Robbins said it'll be interesting to hear what Mikel has to say in the press conference.
Yeah,
if he's going to treat Xhaka the same way that he did with Pepe.
That is definitely the $1 million question. I want to hear the response to that, because if there's any positivity in the sense of any backing your man kind of thing, that I don't know what fan is going to back that from their manager or their coach or whatever he is these days. If he backs Xhaka on this, I mean, that was worse than what Pepe did. One, because it's from our captain.
That was worse than what Guendouzi did.
Guendouzi?
Yeah.
I mean, he's done. I mean, that's cost us a game there. I mean, because basically that kind of set us back, and then next thing you know, we're on our back foot the whole time. And from that game, from that kind of lit the fire underneath Burnley, in which they didn't need any help, because the game wasn't necessarily going one way or the other, but we basically kind of tipped the scales away from us.
Well, let's get into that, Gary. The Xhaka sending off. We come out. It's absolutely been a dire first half. Not a lot of chances. Willian has actually been terrible in the first half. We have a period of play, probably 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes of opportunities in the second half where we have a lot of chances, and you think we're going to do something here. And we're talking about Arsene Wenger's teams. He used to create that horseshoe effect that the teams could not break out from us. We would be able to recycle the ball in midfield. But with Granit Xhaka in midfield trying to recycle the ball, he gets involved. I'm okay in the first instance him taking a professional foul. But at that point, Gary, he's got to walk away and not get involved in the situation.
Exactly. I mean, this is the guy that was supposedly calming down the situation with Tierney after the game.
Yes.
Right. This is what he did. 2-3 games ago, he came in and he supposedly calmed it down. I don't think he did, but maybe that was the start of it again, right? I mean, he's been put in a situation that he can't handle, and it blew up today. Right? It blew up today. I don't know why, but it blew up today, and this looks no different than the last time he got sent off, right? When he came off the pitch and was pissed. Look, no different, except for this time he did it all himself.
Yep. Maher?
Xhaka should have never been bought for our club. He should have never been bought. He's a trash player. If anybody can honestly tell me what position he actually plays in the midfield, He's not a defensive mid. He's not a central attacking mid. Oh, what role does he play? He's a shit footballer. Get this trash out of our club. My God.
Lumber Camp said, can't say I'm surprised. I honestly didn't even bother watching the game. Glad I didn't waste my time. And so, Anthony, Granit Xhaka, you did make a great point there. This is no different to what Guendouzi did, Matteo Guendouzi, and he's been shipped off to Germany.
Yeah, at least in Guendouzi's defense, he was showing a bit of passion, I guess you could call it. He was pissed off at a bad result, you know. And this was before we went through kind of a bad run of games, you know. Like, if it's one rule for him, it should be one rule for everyone. Do you know what I mean? So if that's enough to have him shipped off, I don't see why this should be any different. You know, like Xhaka is supposed to be, this is a former captain, an international player. He's supposed to be one of your leaders in the dressing room. You need these guys to lead by example. Like whatever about Guendouzi, he's an inexperienced kid learning the trade. It's the likes of Xhaka that those guys need to be looking up to. So, you know, criminal to be doing things like that. Especially like, you couldn't even say, it'd be one thing with frustration, like the guy dived or something. He clearly, it was a silly foul, broke up the play. If anything, I can fully understand why the Burnley player was annoyed at Xhaka. You know, why he reacted like that, I just can't understand. Like, it's kind of it's Xhaka that we've had over the years.
I don't think he knew what he did. I don't think he knew that he may have broken up a counterattack.
Yeah, I don't think he meant to do it.
Yeah, it's look, it's normal for another player to get frustrated. Burnley had been under pressure for 10, 12 minutes. We were piling on the pressure on them. Tierney had a shot, Aubameyang had a header saved, and then Saka had another shot from the Willian cross, a really, really good chance from Saka. In fact, Saka had probably the best looks at goal for us today. Aubameyang's shot is deflected in the 54th minute, and then comes to the 56th minute. Granit Xhaka, understandably, wants to keep the pressure on, but you cannot react to the player reacting to you in a sort of a headbutting manner and going face to face. You know, Gary, just another show of ill discipline from Granit Xhaka, who is supposed to be one of the leaders. He touts himself as one of these leaders within the dressing room and on the training pitch.
Yeah. No.
I noticed I said in the dressing room and on the training pitch because you don't really see his leadership on the field, right?
You know what? You're probably, you got it right there. There's a lot that we don't see, and that's probably why we don't understand all of the moves that are being made. There's too much going on behind the scenes. I mean, we see the pictures of them practicing. They're all happy. You know, they're making really good plays, 1-2, two-player, two-man games there. We're seeing all that stuff. And then when it comes to the games, we're not seeing any of that. They were smiling in practice the other day. They're coming out to play at home for the first time. I don't know when I saw a smile. I wasn't really looking for it, but I don't remember anybody smiling like they're enjoying that. You know what? We've got fans in the stands. We've got an opportunity to get a point or 3. We need to show that we're better than the last couple of games that we played. We can't do any worse. And I guess they figured out, yes, we can do worse, that's the part that I don't get. The sky's falling, the bottom's going to drop out. We're going to find out what the bottom is, and we're still trying to figure out what the bottom is on this team, which is scary. Right? Yeah.
Gary, you wanted to know what the questioning was like in the press conference. Well, Darren's just telling us here. They asked him what he's going to do now after losing 4 times in a row. His answer was score in the next game on Wednesday.
I wish that was the only answer, Taylor. That's
pretty
been a question for the last 2 or 3 years. Us scoring in a game. That's been a problem for a very long time.
I think he's forgetting we don't have any Europa League games till February.
And even those could be tough, man. Those aren't going to be easy. I mean, there's a lot of teams that drop down, so we can get lucky. We might not get lucky in the draw there, and who knows who will play. I don't. That right there, that answer there is somebody who's doesn't know what's going on in the room today, in his locker room. I mean, these players, scoring a goal isn't. They need to be able to play as a team right now. There's not 11 guys out there playing for each other, playing for the shirt, playing for the fans, playing for a point, trying to get out of the regulation, regulation zone. I mean, there's not there. What are they? Where's the sense of urgency for something? Give me something to fight for and play for.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nothing.
Yeah, my hero Stan has given us an insight here. A tough interview by Mikel said Jacko's was worse than Pepe's because of their situation. Said he's scratching his head trying to put things right. Like, if he's really said that, I can't believe that he's just come out and said that in the press conference.
I mean, it's what most coaches would come out and what would they say? You know what? We're going to fix this. We're going to come out next game. You're going to see a different team, right?
Yeah.
The only problem is I don't think like everybody said. What is his plan B? We haven't seen it yet, and he's getting forced to do it now.
Yeah, Anthony, what are you seeing from the latest press conferences where, Wenger used to keep everything in house. Now we're having, while we love the honesty of Arteta in the early days at the start, he needs to start learning to keep some things in house as well, because journalists are going to start holding him accountable.
Yeah, well, I think we're starting to see the inexperience of Arteta as a manager, and you can sense that he is starting to feel the pressure. Like, you could see the press conference last week when he was asked pretty standard questions about, like, you played, some attacking football in the Europa League, and it wasn't as cross orientated. Is this the plan going forward? And it was a straight yes. He wouldn't elaborate anything. And then he went off on one because he said there was guys laughing, on the video call. Yeah. So you can see it is starting to get to him. And like that, a more experienced head wouldn't be reacting this way. And I think the last thing he needs to do right now is, kind of show these cracks in the press, because he's already under enough pressure as it is. He doesn't need the media against him as well.
Yeah. Hey, Gary, we know what the English media are like once they get a story, and things must be tough because, it's Zoom calls. It's more difficult to get your point across. If you're there in the room with a group of journalists, you can look them in the eye and they're not going to smirk behind the screen here about it. So it's a different animal that Arteta's had to adjust to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't see the next big interview being that nice for him, because those two questions about the crosses and the whether that's what he wanted to do. Imagine what they're going to be in this one, because every question is going to have the same motive behind it, because it's what do you do now? And okay, so how are you going to do that? Well, what happens when this tell us about your two senior leaders getting knocked out of the next game, right? Pepe comes back. Tell us about that. Does Pepe play? I mean, there's so much they can go on, and they really and truly they just want to know, how does your mind work, right? We all feel like we know most of all the managers out there in the world that we want to either come here or have come here and been here in the past. We know what they are all about, because one, we see it, and two, they actually tell us sometimes. All right. I mean, Bielsa, in an interview, they asked him about his team, and he just basically said, "Here's my 11." You know why? Because he's confident in what he's doing. It doesn't matter if he'll give you the game plan, the structure, and everything, and it won't matter, because he has an answer for everything you do, and that's what you get with a senior, a manager with some seniority out there that's had some, has gone around the block multiple times, and he's missing that, but we knew that. But what he is, what he's truly missing is everybody around him with that knowledge. I mean, he has nobody on his bench that can help him out that's been a manager in the past or been in the league doing this, for a big team. He's got nobody above him who's been managing, players coming in and out of the system. And once again, he's missing a captain on the field. He's missing a captain in practice, right? He's missing a leader. You know, maybe he's holding, maybe he's pulling back the reins on some of the players that want to lead, but he's missing. He's got no leadership around him, on his bench, above him and below him. I mean, and that was true today. We saw it again, right? We go down a goal, and we need to get a goal back, fellas. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, at that point we go goal down, Gary, and very, very, very close to having El Neni sent off as well in another situation, which, this is an experienced midfielder that we're sort of putting all of our eggs of the midfield basket into him pretty much, because we know what all of the others are. We talked about Jack at 35 million, and then he's 5 million, and he's better value than Xhaka has been recently. We talked about that Thursday. But Anthony, it's a very difficult situation. Let's talk about Mikel Arteta, as Gary alluded to. He's all alone pretty much, and there's a lot of seasoned managers in the league now that are not making the same transparency mistakes in interviews that he's making, and he needs to take a good look at himself and say, I have to be a little bit more generic, not give these journalists too much headline news or newspaper space to print about him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. In a lot of senses, he looks really out of his depth.
Yeah.
Like that, the press conference is one thing, but as you can see, when we only have a plan A. When plan A is not working, he looks completely lost. And like Gary said, he has absolutely no one. Like, the man is there completely by himself. He's no one to turn to. There's no leaders in the team. Okay, you can say, oh, you've got guys like Xhaka and all, but he proved tonight he's not a leader. You know what I mean? He has nobody at all to depend on. And like, I want to defend him, and like I said, I've so much sympathy for him, but he must have known what he was getting himself into. Like, this is a massive, massive job, especially for a first-time coach. But it just further goes to show that there's no one at this club that knows what the hell they're doing, because you wouldn't have a guy like this appointed at such a big club who needs to get back to a certain level. You know what I mean? It seems crazy at the time. I know we were all going like he was being hyped up. He's the next big thing, and that's great. That's fair enough. But we had a pretty poor squad, and you're putting a first-time guy in to try to get results with these guys in the team.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bad core in that team that needed replacing when Wenger was there. And they're still there. Like guys like Xhaka, Bella,
Anthony,
all these guys.
Is it a core or is it a group of different cliques?
I think it could be a bit of everything. You do have the cliques, but I think for the most part, the cliques probably isn't too bad. I think it's just too many players have kind of overstayed the welcome. There's a lot of players that we've been saying for a long time need replacing and upgrading, and Arteta can keep bringing in new players, but I think as long as you have this core group of underperforming players who are consistently played and relied on, the results speak for themselves. Like, there's no change. Like, the same guys who were pretty poor under Wenger were pretty poor under Emery. They were pretty poor under Freddie Ljungberg when he was there for a short time, and it's the same repeat offenders, under Arteta. So although Arteta is the man, with the spotlight on him, you can only work with what you've got, in a sense, and it will take him time to kind of weed out this core and replace them. The problem is the results are getting worse, and his time is going to eventually run out.
Yeah, are you losing? I'm losing confidence in the fact that he can weed out these players, because I think the whole fan base can see the three players I've been banging on about: Bellerin, Xhaka, Willian. They should not be in the team in any way, shape, or form. But here we have him continually picking those players. It's disgraceful. And you talked about leaders in the team, and Dave from LFC Chats is in. I can tell you, Jordan Henderson is a leader. He's a general on the pitch for Liverpool. And you go down through all these players from different clubs, and you can look at the certain kind of leaders that are in those teams, some of the teams we've actually balked at. We didn't want a Gary Cahill. We didn't want, a Sion Koo from Leicester.
You know what,
Johnny Evans. These are players that could have done a job for us and were leaders on the pitch. And the mix is all wrong in the dressing room. And until that's addressed, we're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, and like you said, look at all the big teams. There's always that one player that signifies what they stand for, right? And we don't have that right now. Who stands for? Well, when you talk about Arsenal, who is that player that you go and that you put his picture up and go, all right, that's who we're playing for today, right? We don't have that guy. I mean,
yeah, I was looking at
every team has that guy. I mean, or they have a structure that means that we're playing as 11, right? If a team doesn't have a standout play on it, like Burnley, I mean, who is their standout player today? But they had 11 players out there playing for that shirt, right?
We're committed. Exactly. Yeah, Gary, I was looking at the Liverpool game against Brighton, and Mo Salah gets taken off for Jota, and he's a little bit pissed off about it. But what does Jordan Henderson do? He goes over to Salah and says, knock it off, cut it out. You're being substituted, that's it. Get off the field. And there's no incident there. You know what I mean? Because you have a general on the pitch. We don't have that in Granit Xhaka. We don't have that in most of our other players.
Yeah.
Like you said, Gary, Granit Xhaka getting involved in the Leeds game with Kieran Tierney, whether he did that for the right reason or wrong reason, he wasn't displaying the correct leadership skills.
And our bruiser, Ceballos, was the one going in, calming down the situation, right? I mean, that was probably the iceberg that we were missing everything below it, right? Because that's the same situation comes up. There, all of his players should have been around him, getting them out of there, because you could see it. You could see what was about to happen, right? They must have known. You usually know when your partner, your teammate's about to blow a steam, a gasket, basically, and you could see it, And there should have been a player right there to grab him before that arm got up, and just go, you know what? Let's go talk over here, because we're trying to win a game here. It's still 0-0. We haven't lost anything yet.
Yeah.
I mean,
so Mahir, in Arteta's words, we go to Wednesday and we score goals and we put goals in the net, but we patently haven't been able to do that. It's very simplistic to say that, and without the benefit of me seeing the press conference and taking from the comments, that's what's being said. Arteta's trust issues. Go off on that one, Mahir.
Going what Anthony said, we have no idea what the WWE is going on. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody.
I didn't know where you were going there for a second.
None of them know what to do. None of them. The board, the manager, our players, the medical staff looking after the team. Nobody knows what's going on. You can't tell me there's one fan that knows what's going on. I would refer to trust issues. Look, there's only so much you can blame a coach. You have to blame the players for a lot of what's going on, because
I don't know. I might take issue with that one. Go on.
Look, I'm lost for words, guys. I didn't win last. I was actually lost for words, but I'm completely lost for words.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody has some trust issues, and that's the problem, right? I think at all the levels, you pick any one of them, all levels. I mean, the manager doesn't trust the players don't trust the manager. I mean, they don't trust the coaching they're getting. They don't trust, he doesn't trust his assistants, it seems. At least to me, it doesn't seem like it. I mean, because he needs to be able to delegate here, and there's certain things that need to be worked on from game to game, that if you had trust in your assistants, they're going to work on that one thing, so it doesn't come up again, right?
Exactly.
We see the same thing over and over again from the same players. You can't tell me your assistants aren't there for those particular purposes, to make sure that those mistakes that happen don't happen again, right? We need to work on our moving up the field. Let's see, I mean, we're looking at the tape. We're looking at the tape ourselves, right? And we can see problems, right? These guys are professionals. They do this every day. They go back and look at the tape. Though they see issues, how are we going to fix these certain things that come up?
Yeah.
I mean, today was just as I was watching the game, doing the watch along, I said at some point, this is too quiet. I always get upset.
Yeah.
I get concerned when the game gets quiet, right? Meaning that at any point the game's going to change on its, it's going to change on its head at some point. The Xhaka red changed it. The Aubameyang header changed it. I mean, and that's when it was quiet, and it was all going against us at that point. And that's what happens when we're playing a team that's below us on the table, right? At some point, they're going to get a break. They got 2 breaks today, and we paid for it.
Wow. Yeah, so Arteta's trust issues, and Maher said, at the end of the day, it's the players going on the field, and I'm going to take issue with that a little bit because those players should not see the light of day. If you are the manager and you know those players, and they've failed you 4 or 5 games in a row, I'm going to bring Anthony in then. 4 or 5 games in a row, these players have failed you. They haven't scored. They've done nothing, practically nothing in however many, 500 minutes, whatever it is. And you still pick those players. You have to accept responsibility for the results. And at the end of the day, those players that go on the field, they have to then play. But they haven't done it in 4 or 5 games. Maher, I'm going to give you a chance to reply.
But that's why I say insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. Gary and I said, the minute you see those players that we mentioned, the Bellarines, the Jacques, the Williams, the Rob Holdings, we already know before the game is started, it's done.
Yes.
We are going to get a goal, and we are going to break a record, as in 70 or 50 odd years that Burnley haven't beaten us. They're going to beat us. It's happened with Crystal Palace. It's happened with Brighton. It's happened with Aston Villa. It's happened with Leeds. Oh my God.
Yeah, Leicester hadn't beaten us since 1973, Anthony. Apparently it's 50 years since Burnley beat us at home as well. We're setting all the kind of records we don't want to. And where do you take issue? Is it Arteta's fault for picking the players, or is it the players that go on the field, Anthony?
Yeah, I think his biggest trust issue is the trust he keeps showing in the same players. It's definitely 50-50. Obviously, you can coach the guys all day, give them a game plan. It's up to them to go and follow it. The thing is, if you're consistently giving the same players a game plan that they're not executing, maybe it's time to change the players, because clearly they can't follow the game plan. Like we can all see the game plan is cross the ball into the box. They can do that part. The problem is when they get it into the box, they can't finish the move. And okay, what's it going to take to get to a point where you say, it's not working, give someone else a shot. Maybe, again, look at the Europa League performances. It's a complete different style of play. It's working, okay. On paper, it's lesser opposition, but it's working. Maybe it will work against better opposition. He just doesn't seem to want to go down that route when it comes to the Premier League games. And it's actually mind-boggling at this stage. Like I said, what's it going to take? What is it going to take for him to kind of... Is it naivety that he believes, like he says, trust the process? Or are we seeing the stubbornness of the man that he just isn't willing to accept? And he's saying to himself, no, I know it's going to work. I think at times it could be a slight bit of, the Man City background coming out, where he's used to working with a certain level of player, and he might be slightly comparing the guys he's working with on a day-to-day basis at Arsenal and sort of saying, yeah, well, I can see this guy train and he's just as good as Silva and De Bruyne, but clearly not the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's time he realized he does not have that caliber of player.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say on that is that we got the trust on going one way, but he also has trust in his senior players, but he doesn't have the same trust in his younger players, even though 6 games this year in Europa League, those young players have shown that, you know what, if this is the game plan you want to do, we can actually, perform it. We can do it. We can do well with it as well. You give me 5 minutes, you give me 10 minutes, you give me 30 minutes. I'm going to show you what I got. I mean, that's what we've seen from all the young players, right? At least 5 or 6 of them this year have shown us like, this is what you want. I got it, right? Willock's got a has broken through. I guess he's on the team sheet. Nelson came in for a little bit, but Millsap Rowe now. So we got Balogun, and even they're showing you. So he has no trust in the young players, which I find that's kind of disheartening a little bit, because what are they? What's the Europa League? Isn't just a separate tournament. It's just it's a way to showcase your skills to get into the first team. That's what everybody's here for. They're not here to sit. They don't want to play Europa League. You ask any of them, that's the last thing on their mind. No, I'm playing this because I need to showcase my skills. I need to move up. Move up the team sheet, and I don't want to be an afterthought. I want to be on the team sheet every week.
Yeah.
And now he's being forced to do it, and it's like it's disappointing, because if it doesn't work, that means we've been wasting our time with the wrong players, and it should have never been. It should have never come to that, because you gotta have a good depth. This isn't a one. This isn't a Premier League games and that's it. We've got like four sets of games that we need to be able to play and play well in. You got to have some depth there, and he didn't build up his depth, and now we're paying for it, because next week those players coming in, they haven't played enough, right? So now they're gonna have to go through some growing pains maybe, it's not an easy game next week, right? It's not an easy game. So
Southampton, right? And they are a decent team. They won 3-0 today, I think. But I think Stephen Denham wanted Maher to turn to the dark side there and use his rage, but it's midnight there in South Africa. Maher has gone into the chats now, so he'll continue there. He's probably hidden under the cover somewhere so he doesn't get caught.
I saw a funny tweet there. It was Patrice Everett talking about going over to Henri's house to watch a game. An Arsenal game comes on. Jacques is the captain. He turns off the TV.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what happens when you get this type of performance. I mean, all those types of things that are usually behind doors come out now, because I've had enough trying to hold it in,
And Gary, to your point, those young players in the Europa League, we know it's a couple of levels below Burnley, even at this point. But we scored 20 goals across 6 games, conceding only 5, average of 4-1 every game. When you average maybe 3-1, but you can't tell me that we couldn't have put a team like that out who have developed relationships on the field throughout the Europa League, understand each other's game, and be able to be more competitive than so-called established, experienced players who have just lost their way. And Ray Anderson says Arteta's fault in playing those same players that let us down time after time. And question for you, Gary, where are we going to be January 1st?
Oh, jeez.
I
don't know if we're gonna make it to New Year's Eve.
Four more league games.
Boxing Day is gonna be, unless we see some kind of turnaround, which is what we've been saying every other week. Unless we see some change, it's just gonna get worse and worse, right? They always say it's gonna get worse before it gets better, and I'm hoping, like, once again, that this is the worst, but I'm not confident that we've hit the bottom. This is going to end, because he might not have a job, right? Come the new year. I mean, if you're going to keep him, then he's going to stay through the rest of the season, right? Because you want him to see, if they're going to bring. So he said something about having more money, that are going to invest into the team. If that's going to happen, I'd rather have it happen sooner than later, right? If you're not going to make any changes with the team, and you're seeing what we're seeing right now, then nothing's going to change, right? And then maybe the message that the coach is giving isn't being, it's not being absorbed. They're not able to understand what he's talking about. And we're in the same boat we were a year ago, right? With a manager that nobody understands. And not just because of not because of the language barrier, but more because of the the actual process, as they say. They don't understand what's going to happen and what they meant to do.
Gary, possibly it could be language as well. Is he using is he using too extravagant terms for them to understand? Whereas Emery, I literally couldn't understand them, but now with Mikel, they understand English, but he understands English, but he's saying things in not a simplistic way to them.
They understand God.
No, we were talking about the Man City, right? He's coming down from Man City to Arsenal. Typically it should be a lateral move, right? But now he's coming down to an Arsenal team that's that's trying to figure this thing out again, right? Rebuild, remode, rebuild, knock it down, start over again. This is a big project, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man City, they have a structure in place. They have the money, they have the management, the coaching. I mean, Arteta was one piece of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to bring that one piece to us to get us through the end of the season. Now he's got to build all those other pieces, and he doesn't have it. He does, and that's not a surprise. So yeah, I'm exhaling because I'm just.
We're not there. We haven't gotten through the therapy session just yet, Gary.
No, there's a lot to talk about. But
give it another 30 minutes, and everything in the world will be just fine.
Well, that's the trick, right? We got to come out of this with something positive to look forward to, and what's the next step, right? What's the next step going to be? I mean, the next step right now, at least if we're going to have any light at the end of the tunnel, is that we'll have a new right back and a new midfielder next week, or in a couple of days, in 4 days.
So
right?
Mahir, who started the podcast with us now, he wanted to thank Anthony. So thanks, Anthony, for joining us. And everyone watching, check out Anthony on Spotify, Republic of Arsenal. Good stuff. I like what you put out there, Anthony.
Thanks so much.
So, Anthony, the only positive, as Gary was saying, for Wednesday is that Jack and Bellerin will be suspended and Pepe are back. So, who do you want to play? Who do you want to play in those positions?
It's kind of a hard one because obviously I want Maitland-Niles in the team, and it seems an obvious fit at right back. But at the same time, I'm kind of intrigued to see him in more of a central role. So I'd nearly be tempted to give Cedric Suarez a chance at right back.
Yes.
Because in fairness,
full agreement here. Across the board.
He's not probably the most exciting name in the squad, but he's not done anything wrong. He's kind of a solid 7. You know what I mean? He's not the best player, but he's not the worst. And look, if you're going based off merit, he hasn't done anything wrong in the Europa League, and I definitely think he's a better crosser of the ball than Bellerin. So if that is the game we're going to play, see what he can do. And like I said, I would like to see Ainsley Maitland-Niles long term. I'd really like to see a partnership between Maitland-Niles and Partey. I think they'd have a nice kind of balance with someone playing above them. Allow a bit more creative attacking freedom, and like that, both guys can get up and down the pitch, full of energy. They can defend. It'll be interesting.
I forgot about Pepe coming back. Yeah, that is a welcome sight, right? Mm-hmm. If he can show a little bit of what he's shown in the Europa League, and hopefully there's some urgency there from him. I just want to see that from him. Come on. You've been out for 3 games now. Show us that you miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was playing quite well in the Europa League, so things are ticking over quite well for Pepe, a player that I've invested a lot emotionally in. I want to see him flourish, and of course the club have invested way more in, and we all want him to see a flourish. Ray Anderson, normally when this is this important one, Gary. Lately, Arteta's gotten the dreaded vote of confidence from the board, and usually that's not one of the best things you want to hear. It's usually a prelude to something.
Yeah, I mean, this is we've had multiple warnings, right? We had a players only discussion after practice, right?
Yes.
We've got the backing of the board. These are all the signs, right? The light bulb should go on every time you hear those things on any kind of sports organization, right? Things are in more shambles than they seem to be, because we can only see a little bit on the outside, but we're hearing those words. We're hearing leaks. We're hearing, we don't have a team right now. I mean, based on the information that we have, that we're privy to. So yeah, we are. we this is scary times, I think, in terms of where we want to be and where we're going to go and how we're going to get there.
And Pepe will be back at least.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty tough times right now, Anthony.
Yeah, it really is. It's a shame that Xhaka didn't get a straight red, and he'd be out for 3 games like Pepe was.
Well, apparently Xhaka did get a straight red. So my understanding on that one is he got a yellow card, but then upon further review with the dreaded VAR, it was rescinded. The yellow was rescinded and turned into a red. So,
well, there's a positive.
Granit Xhaka, my understanding is Granit Xhaka is going to get a 3-game ban now.
Hopefully we can appeal it and make it 10.
Yeah. Gary, it's unforgivable. I mean, you see those scenes where he's grabbing the throat of the player, and there's no way he's going to escape that. What was he thinking?
Yeah, and we've seen that reaction from him multiple times when he puts a hard foul in there, right?
Yeah.
And this one, like I said, I have this is I believe this is a sign, right, of where the team is, right? I mean, the push that El Neni had, that seemed to come out of nowhere as well, right? We've never seen that before. That seemed kind of a little bit out of the ordinary for us as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you pushed high, you pushed at a guy high, almost at his head. You could have just stood there and you would accomplish the same thing. I mean, it wasn't necessary to push him at that point. So there's frustration, I think, in the team, and it's coming out in weird ways. And that's when you don't have the leadership that you need, right? Your players are losing it. They're not out there being themselves. They're out there probably thinking about who knows what, but they're not thinking about the game at hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there is some. It's not clear with Granit Xhaka. Initially, I thought it was 2 yellows, but I was told, that the first yellow was rescinded, that it's going to be a straight red, based on the referee missing. Is there some kind of technicality there, Anthony? You know anything about that? If he was already dished out a yellow card on the field, does that stand? Can it be through VAR?
I think he got an initial yellow for the first foul, didn't he? And then I think the second was for putting his hand on the guy's throat. So right. I think that's what it was. Because I did see the ref; he did pull out a yellow twice. But look, hopefully somebody tells Arteta it was a straight red, and we'll be okay.
Straight red. We want to see Ainsley Maitland-Niles playing with maybe El Neni, and then maybe, because. You said something about Ainsley Maitland-Niles being a limited player, and I actually think he's got all the tools in the locker. Mm-hmm. He just needs to develop them, and he has that kind of, as I was saying to Gary, he has that kind of languid style that you don't think it's actually there. The way he took those penalties against Liverpool as well, cool.
Yeah, unbelievable penalty taker. But you could see when he played in that midfield role in the Europa League, he has that that sense of calmness where he almost doesn't look interested when he's on the ball, but it's like a confident, it's different to when you sense a player. Like I was looking at Willian tonight, and when he got the ball, you expect your winger to kind of explode, go down the wing. He kind of would stop and take a couple of steps, and he's walking, and he just looked like he was out of ideas. But Maitland-Niles, it looks completely different. It's just he's so confident, and that's what you need in that position. That's a guy who's not going to be afraid to play a pass, make a challenge, get up and down the pitch. That's completely what we're missing. He's athletic, he's mobile, and like I said, he can get up, he can get back. He'll allow Partey to move forward, and he'll cover the space. Likewise, Partey will move back, he'll move forward, he'll link up the play. Yeah. Way more options. Like Xhaka, it's just so limited, so limited.
He's gone backwards, and Anthony's gone backwards in the 4 or 5 years he's been with Arsenal.
100%. I don't remember ever going forward.
Yeah. It's surprising to see a player with that much confidence on this team, though, right? I mean, who else do you feel like has that confidence like that? When he comes in, I mean, he's seasoned, right? He's been around for at least 3 or 4 years on the senior, on the first team. So Saka's not there yet. Gabriel's not there yet. Tierney definitely is there, in terms of the confidence they feel when they come on, that they know what they're doing. They may not be perfect, but they know what they got to do.
This might be unpopular. I want to pick on Tierney just a little bit. I think he gets into great positions, Gary, but his delivery is not great into the box. He needs to develop that a little bit, in my opinion. So come on me, everyone.
No, I mean, you know what? If that's all you can complain about, then I think I'm all right with that right now because of where we stand. I mean, it's not as if there's other players in the box that are going to get at the end of it anyway. So we're not losing anything at this point, right? With those crosses and stuff that come in. I mean, I know, these long passes, we've seen him been able to put a ball on the string out to Aubameyang. So when we have the space, which I haven't seen that in a very long time, right? It's been a while since we've seen a long pass from Tierney out to Aubameyang as he makes a run to the goal. I mean, it's been a while. It's been since last season, right? Those things have disappeared. The crosses, we still get opportunities, right? We get, even if the well is dry in terms of scoring opportunities, we had opportunities today, right? We had multiple opportunities today. We put the ball right at the goalie every time. We don't make him, I mean, I know it's not easy, but I always feel like at some point you got to make the goalie move, right? Pick a corner, the near one, the far one, whatever. You should have that in your head, before you make that that contact with the ball. We seem to never make the goalies have to actually make a move on the ball when it comes through, and not as much as I would like to see. That's for sure.
Anthony, what's your take on Tierney? Because I think he's not really playing at the top of his game right now. Maybe.
Yeah, well, look, you definitely can't fault him in terms of passion and hunger. Definitely, in my view, closest thing we have to captain material currently in the squad, and so good going forward, so good creating the opportunities. Sometimes, the crossing not 100%, but this is where I guess you could probably make an argument. If we had a couple more attack-minded midfield players, that can be the difference between what you might call a good cross and a bad cross. Like, a lot of the balls he's playing into the box they're low and kind of behind where your striker would be. But if you had attacking players with that instinct, Aaron Ramsey, for example, who knows where to be, that can be your difference between whether that was a good ball or not. It always looks a bad ball when it doesn't go to one of our men. But if we don't have those guys who are making these runs into the box, who is he looking for? Lacazette's almost playing in midfield half the game. You've Aubameyang. That's not Aubameyang's game. He's not looking to get on the end of crosses.
Yeah, so perhaps a little harsh, and it's as a consequence. You're right. It could be as a consequence of our diminishing forward play. Yeah, Robin. If it's 2 yellows, then it will be 1 game suspension. But we are, appealing for 10 matches apparently here, and Anthony is going to be lodging that appeal with the FA.
Yeah, I'm going to call
in the morning, right?
I think they're going to get a lot of calls from our Arsenal fans going, I think that was a straight red. I think you got it wrong.
Go back to VAR again.
I mean, VAR to some degree helped us, but just didn't cross the line with the results of it. But I mean, this has got to be a non-negotiable, right? Because this has nothing to do. There was no reason. He was the one that instigated the contact, right? No, that other play didn't have anything to do with that. Not at all. It's not like the Pate situation where they were going back and forth throughout the game. One guy stepped over the line and then got punished for it. This is one out of the blue, nothing, and he did this. I mean, this should be one of those internal suspensions, right, where the guy sits out for 3 games regardless of what the situation. This is what a seasoned manager would do, right? He sees something out there that isn't what he expects out of his players. They do it anyways, and they get punished for it. The fact that it's a captain is even worse, right? I mean,
it was the type of reaction you would have expected out of a player if we were chasing a game, maybe a goal or 2 down. Like, by no means were we playing brilliant, but we were definitely on top of that game, and that was there for the taking.
Yeah,
that was there for the taking. So if there was still time, I just can't understand. Like I said, the frustration. Yeah, if you were chasing a game, but there was a real possibility we could have snuck a winner.
Yeah. Which would have changed this conversation just very, very slightly, Gary.
Yeah,
but we'd still be talking about trust issues and the team not performing well, right? I think we said it in the pregame: win, lose, or draw. We hope we're probably going to have the same conversations.
Yeah, we wanted to see something change within the team, right? We wanted to see something change, and we didn't see anything for the first 45 minutes, right? Nothing looked any different to us. We didn't see any progress from the previous game. I always talk about the little changes that I want to see from game to game that maybe look big on the screen to us. We didn't see that. Didn't see enough anyways. There might have been some, but I don't think we saw enough of what we needed to see to showcase that they worked on something from the last game. This wasn't a team that we had to worry about a counterattack, so that was not the issue today. Today is a team that we needed to come up, push the pedal down and actually get something out of the game, and we didn't do that. And we have players that have done that in the Europa League that didn't get a chance today, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the game that we need to come out and show movement off the ball. We don't have players that do that, not positively the way we want. And we multiple times we saw Xhaka on the back line. We saw Lacazette way in the mid. We saw Aubameyang back at midfield. Not pushing the issue. I mean, how in the world are you going to attack if you're setting back so far? And we're supposed to be the ones. They're giving us all that we want. I mean, they've got like 6 players on our side, on our defensive side, and we can't get the ball out to punish them for it, right? This is what you kick a long ball. One of the 2 wings, or the come out and get it. I mean, these are things you work on, right? We're sitting back there. We're struggling from the back, and it didn't. Everything didn't work today. And what was the game plan? I don't know. We should have had an answer for everything that they brought to us. We knew what was going to happen. Once again, we came into a game knowing that they're going to sit back and absorb everything that we got.
Yeah.
And once again, we had no answer for it, and that's disappointing.
I want to take a moment just to give a shout out to Tony. He's gonna Tony Turner, a friend of our channel here. He's going to be going through an operation tomorrow. I want to let him know we're all thinking about him, and we wanted to give him 3 points today as well, and send them in there with the knowledge that Arsenal got 3 points, but we're all thinking about you here, Tony, and he just said Arteta's not the way forward. He did message me, Gary, so that's what he said. Arteta's not the way forward, and can you argue with that if the manager has had a month now to get the right team in place, put the right players on the field, and he's not doing that?
Yeah, well, I guess one thing I want to say is good luck tomorrow, Tony, with the surgery. We'll be here waiting to hear from you when you come out of that. But yeah, Arteta hasn't shown us anything that has led us to believe that he's the man for the job. I mean, and like I said, it's a little disappointing because it's not his fault. But we need some, you can't change the players. We're not going to change the management, but we can change the coach and the manager, right? Can he handle both jobs? I actually feel like if we had somebody taking over one of those roles, maybe things would be a little bit better, so he wouldn't have to deal with everything, right? We know he comes from a background where he has a lot. He can figure out a lot about the structure of how he wants his team to play, right? And just spend all his time working on that. To give him the management job, I think, was a step in the wrong direction, because now he's got to deal with 2 sets of issues. And we have issues all up and down the structure here, and we don't have enough people to handle it, which is disappointing as well. I mean, he's getting hung out to dry, and he might be the reason, the big change that we need to make, but it's not his fault. Would he take a step down? Probably not, right? Because that's kind of what he would need. He needs to go out and get experience a little bit more, see how somebody actually comes in and does a rebuild, takes these players and figures out which ones can do what, set players that can't do it, talk with the management and get them to bring the players in, right? I mean, all those types of things that are required of a big time coach and a big time team, right? We're not the biggest team in London for nothing. I mean, this is what we're supposed to be, right? This is the Arsenal, right?
Yep. Stephen Denham, he's going to pretty much take the Christmas period off, Gary. He's going to get his Arsenal news from this channel. So big up to you, Stephen. And we will keep you informed about how bad it gets. Anthony, is it too...
Steve, we're gonna miss you. You gotta come. At least you can come on the pods and talk with us.
He will. And John, 1886 reckons should be a 2-year ban. So Anthony, can you lobby for that tomorrow when you go to the FA office and appeal against the 1 game or 3 games? No, it should be much more.
Or even better, can we just like ship them off to Spurs or something instead? It'd be easier.
Yeah, our biggest enemies. Let's do that.
Yeah.
But where do we go now? You saw the pictures of Arteta leaving field. He looked like you seen a ghost, right? He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know where to turn. That's what I saw.
It's starting to look like Emery all over again.
Yeah.
It really
I actually tweeted that. Is this going to be the Southampton 2-2 game, which was pretty much the death knell on Emery, or the 3-2 win over Aston Villa? And I was hoping the young players would come on and win the game in swashbuckling style, but that's just my romantic take on it, you know?
Yeah, I think definitely Xhaka's dismissal kind of put a nail in the coffin of, the likes of Smith Rowe and that getting a run out. I think as soon as we went down a man, he was only ever going to go with the guys he trusted.
Yep. If you had trust issues, Gary, with 11 players, you go down to 10 players, you can forget about it.
Yeah, we saw that with Ceballos coming on. It would have been nice to maybe see Smith Rowe come on, maybe, because he would have probably injected some life, I think, into that. Especially Saka. I think Saka would have probably liked to see that move, right? One of his buddies come on when we need to change this game around, right? I mean, that's what you needed a spark, and all of our subs don't really give us the spark that we want, especially most of the time when our spark isn't just to defend, it's to attack, right? We don't have that. We can probably solidify our back with subs, but we can't push forward with them right now. And I think Smith Rowe could have done that. Willock, even Nelson, if he was on the bench, those guys could have probably gave us a little bit of that extra that we needed. I mean, we lose this game 2-0 because we bring, offensive players on. I don't think it matters at this point. The fact that we're down 1-0 at any point in the game is a negative. So, you got to take a risk at some point. We didn't really take a risk, and we just sat back, and it kind of killed us. Hurt us. So he hasn't taken any risks. Right, at least risks that we thought we would need. I mean, this is we're just dipping down the table over and over again. We're not taking any risks, and at some point you have to. Right, got to. I mean, and the one disappointing thing is that our defense is supposed to be the thing that we're good at, and it let us down today. Yeah. I mean, the header from Aubameyang, was a kind of a fluky thing, but the fact that we're in that situation in the first place is probably another part of that as well, right? I don't know if that was after the yellow from Bellerin or not, or just a regular part of the game. I can't remember at that point what happened there, but we were stuck in that corner for a while in those last 20 minutes. We can't do that. We can't. We're not a team that can have teams to sit there in the corner of our defensive third and just absorb all of it. We just can't do that.
You could just feel a goal coming. You really could. It was a matter of time.
Yeah. Anthony, what happens with Granit Xhaka now? Does he get back in the team before January? Does he get sold in January? Is there going to be a redemption part 2 of Granit Xhaka?
If he's willing to settle for playing Europa League football, yeah, keep him. But look, his Premier League place, if it wasn't already under threat, it has to be now. Surely has to be. There's been talk about a swap deal. Don't know how true it is with himself and Christian Eriksen. If that is on the table, I take it all day.
all day long.
All day long.
Yeah.
Not even because I rate Ericsson all that highly. It's just bring in someone else and get rid of him. You know, it's time. It's just time for something else. Like, how many more years does he need? You know, it's not like we can even say, you know, he's given us a couple of good, like really solid, strong seasons. He has little periods throughout each season where you kind of go, okay, maybe
average.
maybe this is what he gives us, but you know, it's the end product is just it's the same old, and it's just not getting any better. It's just time to you know, a bit more imagination. Throw someone else in there. Let's do something different, because we see how this ends every single time.
Okay, Gary, you know I always look on the bright side of things, okay?
You do?
I'm always with the rose-tinted glasses, Anthony. I'm always that way. So I'm going to build a case here. Do you think that Arteta will, in this carnage of Xhaka being out for however many games and Bellerin not being in the next game, will actually play the right players in those two positions? The team will be a little bit more fluid, and we'll start winning some games. And there you know it. Before you know it, Arteta's, you know, a genius again through happenstance.
That's what I wanted in this game, right? That's what I wanted in this game.
That's what we wanted in this game. But
so, you know, now we have to wait one more game, and the games get tougher. I mean, with, you know, even the Brighton game now, it looks, you know, they had a bad day, but we're not at the level of Leicester City at this point. So there's no easy games for us from here on out, as far as I'm concerned, because either we got teams playing to get out of the relegation zone, you know, or they're well out of it and they're, you know, better suited you know, they're on form, right?
Yeah.
I you know, like I said, broken record, and once again, this is another opportunity for us to make a change for the better. If Emile Smith-Rowe, Maitland-Niles, one of those two gets in the midfield, right? Pepe definitely will replace Willian. That's got to be a plus.
Yeah. We
know we're going to need a right back, so yeah, Cedric, why not? And then the nice thing about Cedric and Maitland-Niles is that if you need to take Cedric out, you can, you know, if you want to switch out the midfield, you can put Maitland back and you know, put in a new midfielder if you want to get somebody fresh in there.
But you even have Callum Chambers, Gary. You can come in.
You got and you have Marie there to help out with holdings. I mean, we've got a lot of options to at least make a difference depending on how the game goes. And we know we're going to need people to take rest. Nobody's playing 2 games a week. That's not going to happen. Not the way we play, and not, you know, with the players that we have. So yeah, I'm going to be surprised with what changes we see on Wednesday or Thursday. But at least I know there'll be 2 players on it that won't be on the team sheet at all. So that's a plus. I mean, that's definitely a plus. I mean, think about it. If we could put Balogun in, that hold up, that there was one play where Eddie came in, I think the ball skipped past him, and I'm like, that was Balogun. That ball wasn't going anywhere. It was going to stick right there on his foot, and then he can make a turn and figure out what to do next. And Eddie's not a hold up player, right? He's not going to hold the ball up. We know what he is, and he's not that type. You've got a player that can do that. Balogun would have been perfect to come into that situation when we needed a spark. So hopefully Balogun gets on the team sheet as well. I mean, those guys, you know, the old timers are going to have to sit and rest and see this one out, I think. I mean, that's the only way we're going to see some progress, right?
We have a tough schedule coming up, Anthony. So let's take the next 4 games and look how bad that is. Southampton on Wednesday, right? Everton away. It's going to be a tough one. We saw what Everton did to Chelsea with application. We have players that are as skillful as the Everton players. I'm going to stand behind that statement. But they applied themselves. They put a pressure on Chelsea, and Chelsea couldn't live with them. And then we go play Chelsea as well. So there's really 2 tough games there. and then Brighton away is never easy.
Yeah, it's really tough to see, especially after losing tonight. It's really tough to see where we take any points at all. And
Yep.
I know people were joking, online, Arsenal, we could get relegated. And the only thing I had was I could say, well, look, we're better than Burnley, we're better than Fulham, Sheffield United. After today, I'm not so sure the way results have gone. This joking relegation battle could become a real thing. And like that, looking at the fixtures and how we're playing, if you could at least say tonight, right, well, I saw something, it's a work in progress, I'm starting to see, bits and pieces gel together, then you could say, okay, give it a couple more games. It's the same old.
Mm-hmm.
The problem as well is I know we're going to have a couple of new guys coming into the team, but like, how long is it going to take for these guys to kind of gel to the system and kind of get their match sharpness when they're only playing the odd Europa League and a couple of minutes here and there? These guys are going to have to get a bit of time as well. Like, if Smith Rowe or the likes are thrown into the team, you can't really expect that it's all going to just suddenly click into place,
And Anthony, we're, like I said to Gary on the pre-game podcast, we're going to ask these kids to help the team in the worst possible circumstances. Isn't it a tough ask to do that?
Oh yeah, completely. Like, it's massive pressure on young players. Like I said, this is why you need the leaders in the team to guide these players. Like the old teams we had, you could put guys like Fabregas in because you had guys like Vieira and Gilberto Silva and these kind of guys. Like, who have we got in that squad that a young player can actually learn from? If anything, it's the young players that are kind of leading the line. Like Saka was probably our best player tonight. It's crazy to think that these guys are like, these are the guys that are, again, Europa League, say what you want about it, but these are the guys, when asked to do a job, are going out and doing the job. They're beating the teams that are in front of them. The senior heads aren't. So look, it's time to give them a chance,
Like Robin said, and I agree with you, Robin. 4 managers can't be wrong. We have to give the manager time to build from scratch. And I'm pulling my hair out. You might not think it, but I'm pulling my hair out for the last 4 or 5 weeks, wanting these young players in, Anthony. What's your stand? Do we stick with Arteta? How long do we give him? If we stay close to the relegation zone, how long for you do you give Arteta?
Yeah, see, it is a tough one. I've said kind of all along, you have to give a guy time. It's you can't expect miracles overnight, especially given the squad that he did inherit. The problem is, with results seemingly getting worse and worse and worse, the closer he is to the bottom of the table, the less time you're going to afford him. If he was even floating about kind of 8th, 9th, 10th, you'd kind of say, look, we give him another maybe window or two, let him get rid of some players, let him bring some players in. We're at the stage now where I'm kind of saying to myself, what player that can potentially take us up a level or two? What player is now looking at us saying, that's a destination I want to go to? Like, who is gonna want to come into a relegation fight? Like, they're talking up like Dominic Szoboszlai. Like, this guy, he's 20. He's wanted by some of the biggest clubs in Europe. Why is he going to sign for us? To have a relegation fight.
And he's possibly going to go to the feeder club as well. So that relationship is there.
Yeah, 100%. Like, why? Like, regardless of, you can be promised all the minutes, but he'll get minutes elsewhere as well and do a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. Russ Morgan puts in a good comment there. Gary, just play the youngsters. If we lose, at least it's something different. And if we were playing the youngsters for the last 6 weeks, I think you get a lot more understanding from the fans as well.
Definitely. I mean, I think those senior players need a rest. I mean, we think they're old. We think they're old to begin with, right? I mean, Aubameyang definitely is old for his age. Lacazette has aged over the last 2 years. These guys need a break, and they might need that break and that sitting on the bench or not even being on the team sheet to kind of rejuvenate them and get them like thinking about, when I get out there, my chance is only going to come, and I got to take advantage of it every time. And I don't think they feel like that at all. I don't think they feel like, I won't be back next week. And typically that's how it used to be, right? If you don't play, you sit, right? And every team this is where I kind of feel like Arteta didn't learn anything from his experience sitting on benches and stuff. I have no doubt that players been out of form at Man City sat, right? We didn't see the same forwards every game, right? Even over the course of like a 10-game series, you saw some change in there. I've seen, Kevin De Bruyne sit, all right? So it's not like, the best players aren't sitting. And maybe that's for rest, but it doesn't really matter. It's for form as well, right? And we're not getting that at all. So I'm hoping we see that. And, I think you guys were talking about, making a change at manager. And that's the only change we can make right now. Unless there's a manager or somebody that's going to be working with Vinay to kind of fix some things, the manager is the easiest thing we can do right now, right? We know we can bring in a seasoned manager who maybe has a better structure and can get us over the line to at least, start trending upwards, right? Even if they're not a long-term fix, at least they're gonna, stop the drop that we're feeling right now, where we're constantly not growing, getting better, and also can help out with those situations where if we do have backing financially, they know best how to do that. I mean, I thought it was fun, I thought didn't make any sense at the time when we were talking about Grealish maybe being, not, somebody we don't pick up. At this point, I feel like, why not? Why not? That's a lot of money spent, but it's money spent well based on what I've seen. And that's what we need. I mean, I'll be surprised it happens, but that's one thing. I mean, we know players in the Champions, the Champions League, in the there's lots of players all around England that we can pick up to help us. Some may be starters, some may be just the depth that we need. If we're not going to go the youngsters, because are we going to be able to play all those youngsters and they're going to come through? It's going to be hard, I think. So we got to take the best ones and get them, and then the other ones we can loan out. Maybe they come back, or we sell because we're in a financial situation as well, right? We've got a lot of deadwood players that we're paying that we don't want to. I mean, this is where everybody's letting down everybody else, right?
Yep. I remember when I was playing football, I was playing in an underage team, and we did quite well, but we developed this team, and our senior team wasn't doing so well. They had 3 or 4 players that weren't up to scratch. Well, the next season, the 3 or 4 players that were playing well in the youth team played in that senior team that went ahead and won the league that next year. So, I mean, you can play exciting young players with established, experienced players, and it will happen, Any other comments, Anthony, overall about today? We're going to wind it up pretty soon. Where to go, right?
Like I said, it's the hope that kills us, and I am actually still slightly in a bit of shock. I definitely came into this one thinking, I'm not saying this is going to be the one that changes the season or turns it all around, but I really did think we'd have enough about us to get a result here, because it's not even as if Burnley were on form or anything like that. And you're going to yourself, where the hell do we pick up points if we can't do it at home against Burnley?
I actually felt bad for you, Anthony, because I'm bringing you onto a podcast here. It's your debut on Arsenal Fan Circle, and you didn't even have a win to bask in.
No, but I made my debut ahead of William Saliba, so that's something.
There you did. You made it, and I don't even know what's going to happen with William Saliba. That'll just get Gary and I off on a different tangent, right?
Yeah. We're free the kids, free Saliba. I mean,
there's going to be a lot more hashtags coming out, and God knows what Twitter looks like right now, Gary.
Yeah, I haven't been clicking refresh because I really don't want to know. But there is that was the interview for Arteta, but it disappeared. But yeah, I don't. like I said, depending on if I, and this is, I'll go back to, you guys have heard me say this all the time. If I thought we had the management structure to make a big change, then I'll be feeling confident about what happens next. I don't think they want to make that move. I don't think they feel like Arteta out is a move they want to make, right? And they're not helping Arteta in either. So it's like, you're not doing, he needs the help, whatever that is. Give him the best players in the world, give him the best management structure in the world, give him a leader out there that you start with a leader and maybe you build from there, but do something, right? They're not doing anything right now.
Do something.
Yeah.
I keep waiting. I keep waiting to, you're in quicksand and you're dropping. I keep waiting. You keep getting sucked in. I keep waiting to hit the ground level, ground zero. And where is ground zero at Arsenal, Anthony? Is it today? Every day from now on, going to be better.
Look, I guess it can only get better because I don't know if it can get much worse, to be honest.
As Russ said, this is the worst Arsenal team he's seen in nearly 30 years of watching football. Yeah, I've only seen Arsenal play really badly in the league in 1993, and we won actually 2 cups in that year, the FA Cup and I guess it was the Lilwoods Cup at the time, But hey, we'll trundle on. And so Anthony, I hope you enjoyed coming on under the circumstances of this auspicious defeat and circumstances of Arteta. As we say in Ireland, he looked white as a sheet, right? Like a goat.
Yeah, Arsenal do that to you.
Or either felt white as a sheet or scarlet, as the Dubs would say,
Yeah, scarlet.
Is that like a deer in the headlights, or is that
white as a sheet like you've seen a ghost, or scarlet?
Deer in the headlights is we're getting that as well then.
As white as seeing Jack's name on a team sheet.
Yeah, exactly. If you've seen Gary in the last 2 pre-game podcasts, when Willian has been on the team sheet, you got to stop the video right there and just look at the face, and it tells 1,000 words, right, Gary?
You know what, though? It's getting to the stage where there's 5 or 6 names on the team sheet that'll do that to you. It really is.
Yeah. Willian is actually he was number 3. But we know next week William will be number 1 if he's on the team sheet. So, but Pepe hopefully has an answer for that in practice this week, right? I mean, it should be. I mean, this is nobody wants it, right? This is the problem. Nobody wants it. That's what we want it, but we're the players that want it, right? Pepe should want to take that spot from William. It should be easy for him to do that.
Yeah, if Gary, he looked at the first game against Fulham and said he had a task on his hands to take the spot away from Willian, it's definitely gotten easier as we've gone through these 12 league games. And
Pepe can make something out of nothing, right? And today we needed that. We had no.
It comes down to trust. It all comes down to that word, trust, again. And Anthony, you're not married, but you have to trust in the Arsenal, and it's difficult. It's going to be tough times ahead, but it's not easy. You have your good days, you have your bad days.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Anthony, I hope you'll come on again sometime. And anyone watching this on replay, check Anthony out. You want to plug yourself there? Check him out on Spotify. You got anything else going on?
No, just at the moment, we're on Spotify, on Twitter, Republic of Arsenal podcast. It's on a couple of other apps as well. But check it out. You can hear me do a lot more complaining, probably a lot more swearing than I brought out on this show. But if you're into that kind of thing.
I hope you'll come on again, maybe on Sunday again when things get a little bit better, right?
100%. I'll wait till we have a win, so you might get me on like 2 years.
We'll see in February.
It's going to be next year. Yeah.
Dariona, you're new around here. Thanks for joining us. And if you want, hit the subscribe button, and you'll hit the bell notification. You'll be notified of new streams. There's something wrong in management. The Arsenal's lost 4. We know it. 4 matches and drawn only 1 in the last 5. How annoyed we are as fans, and maybe it has something to do with Ozil. Gary?
Ozil,
I don't think everything. I don't think
yeah.
everything is the root
No,
of Ozil. Right?
Ozil is just a piece to this puzzle of madness that we're experiencing. That epitomizes. That's just one of the many issues on the team, and it's festered because we haven't been able to sever ourselves from it. Right?
Yeah.
I was like, don't play him at all. But if you're gonna pay him, you're gonna practice with him, you might as well play him because how does that look to the other players? You know, they're gonna do this to me next time when I get the big deal, right? And I don't produce.
Yeah.
So you got to do one or the other. You either stay or play. You know, stay, or go or play. And they did neither. Yeah.
My stance, Gary, recently has been in the last 2 or 3 years. Says Ozil hasn't given us anything in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, we've actually declined. If you look at the entirety, we started out this podcast with talking about Anthony starting out his Arsenal life as a nipper from 4 or 5 years old. Could have been a Chelsea fan through happenstance, and check it if you have at the beginning if you haven't seen it, folks.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, Anthony, for joining us. All like you said, everybody check out the pod on Spotify, the Republic of Ireland. It was a pleasure doing time with you on the show today. This is part of the therapy that maybe in the future we'll be cheering on the youngsters hopefully, and that'll be it would be the positive.
We don't want to be old men when that happens, Gary. Has this been our third or fourth therapy podcast?
This is we've had 4 weeks of therapy at least this season, and most of them have been in the last month. So we're doing it again. I mean, I think this one is a little bit easier because we kind of, the other ones were like, that team's a lot better, than we are. So if we can come out and at least show something, this one was, you got to win this one, right? Got to get something out of this game.
Yeah, I'll leave everyone with this one, Gary. At the pre-game podcast, I questioned, have we found our level in Burnley? The answer firmly is no. We have not found our level. Our level is somewhere below Burnley. It's a bitter pill to swallow, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's disappointing, and there is another layer below Burnley, which is really bad. There's at least
Anthony, I'm going to use a word that Arteta used against Guendouzi, humility, or maybe that was Mopé used against Guendouzi.
Yeah,
humility. Arsenal fans, we need to learn it, and I'm learning it this season. It's not easy for me to learn it, but I'm learning it.
Yeah,
we don't have a divine right to be up there at the top. We have to put the processes in place and do everything right, and that includes probably picking the right team as well. And they have to go out and do it. But we'll leave it there. We could go on for a few more minutes, but like I said, Anthony, thanks for joining us. And once again, want to give a quick shout out to Tony, and best of luck again. Hopefully you watch the podcast, Tony, and whether you're pissed off with the Arsenal result, I hope you got a kick out of us talking about it for a few minutes.
Definitely.
And we'll be in touch. We'll be on the next one, and we'll see you. We're out of here. Come on, you Gooners. Up the Arsenal. And thanks for joining us again.